My name is Ruth Collins. I'm 24 years old, and the day I realized I was nothing more than a walking wallet to my family was the day I came home from the hospital and found my bedroom gone. They wheeled me out of the automatic doors in one of those chipped blue wheelchairs, the kind that squeak on every bump. I was still in the oversized t-shirt the nurse had helped me pull over my head, stitches burning across my stomach every time I breathed too deeply. I clutched a pillow to my side like it was the only thing holding me together. I expected not a parade, but something. A hug. Hey, you made it. Something that looked like concern. Instead, my mom was leaning against the car, arguing with my dad about a water bill. You told them you'd pay it Friday, she snapped, not even glancing at me as the orderly pushed the wheelchair closer. Now they're adding a late fee. I said I'd handle it, my dad muttered, scrolling on his phone. Stop nagging me about every... Excuse me, the orderly said gently. She's ready to go. My mom flicked her eyes up at me like I was a package being delivered. No smile, no, how are you feeling? Oh, right, get in, Ruth. We don't have all day. I swallowed the sting in my throat. Thanks, I whispered to the orderly, even though he wasn't the one who owed me an apology. Dad didn't get out of the car to help. The orderly and I somehow managed to navigate my stiff, aching body into the back seat. Every small movement sent a sharp slice of pain through my abdomen. When the car door shut, it felt like I had closed myself inside a stranger's life. The whole ride home was silent except for the GPS and my parents bickering about money. Not my surgery, not the fact that their daughter had just had a major health scare, a water bill. Going back home hadn't been the plan. Before everything went sideways with my health, I'd been doing okay. I had a tiny apartment, the kind where you can stand in the middle and touch the counter and the couch at the same time, but it was mine. I was juggling classes, a part-time job, paying rent. It wasn't glamorous, but it was freedom. Then my body betrayed me. Pain, fatigue, doctors, tests, surgery. Suddenly, the idea of working shifts and cooking for myself while recovering felt impossible. I panicked. I told myself moving back home for a couple of months tops would be temporary. I could save on rent, get through the surgery, and have emotional support. You know, from my family, the people who were supposed to catch you when you fall. What a joke! In the weeks leading up to the surgery, my parents asked me for money 3 times. The first time, it was just a little help with my brother's car insurance. Your brother needs the car to get to work, Mom said, rubbing her temples as if my existence gave her a migraine. You know how hard things are for him right now. Things are hard for me too, I said quietly. I could feel my bank balance in the back of my mind, a number I'd memorized because it kept me up at night. Ruth, don't be selfish, Dad sighed. You're single, no kids. You can always make more. Your brother has a family. A family. Translation. My needs were negotiable. His were sacred. I transferred the money. Second time, it was groceries. Just until the first of the month, Mom said, standing in the doorway of my temporary room, not even bothering to ask how my pain was that day. Third time, it was some mysterious emergency that she refused to explain over text. I wired it anyway, feeling stupid and a little sick. I kept telling myself, they'll be there when it matters. They'll show up when I really need them. They didn't even show up to the hospital. 2 days. 2 days I lay in that antiseptic room, staring at beige walls, listening to the beep of machines and the shuffle of nurses. Not a single visit from my parents, not a text from my brother. The only person who came was my cousin Leah, on day 2, with a smoothie and a pair of fuzzy socks. She slid the straw toward me and smiled. I figured hospital ice chips don't count as nutrition. I laughed, and it hurt. You didn't have to come. I know, she said, that's kind of the point. When she left, the room felt colder. So when we finally pulled into my parents' driveway after discharge, part of me was still stupidly hopeful. Maybe they'd been overwhelmed. Maybe they just didn't know how to handle fear. Maybe home would at least feel like home. My dad didn't even pull into the driveway all the way. He stopped halfway up, as if he needed a quick escape route. He popped the trunk and immediately checked his phone again, while I slowly eased myself out of the car, one hand on the door, one pressed to the pillow at my stomach. My legs were shaky, the world tilting slightly with each step. I made my way inside, breathing in the familiar smell of laundry detergent and overcooked onions. I turned down the hallway toward my bedroom and stopped. My room was gone. Not messy, not rearranged. Gone. The walls were bare, a pale outline where my posters used to hang, like the ghosts of my teenage years. No bed, no desk, no bookshelf crammed with dog-eared paperbacks. The closet stood open and empty. It looked like a staged room in a house that was about to be sold. For a split second, my brain tried to make it logical. Maybe there was a leak. Maybe they were painting. Maybe... Then I saw them. 4 black garbage bags, lined up neatly in the hallway like a row of bodies. My name was scrawled on each one in thick black marker. "Mom?" My voice came out thin. What happened to my room?" She was at the kitchen table, scrolling on her phone. She glanced up at me, then back down, as if my question were a minor inconvenience. "Oh, right." She waved her hand casually. "Your brother and Jasmine needed the space. The guest room was too small with all the baby stuff, and it just made more sense. You'll be fine on the couch until you're back on your feet." Back on your feet, as if I hadn't just staggered through the door hours after surgery. I looked at the bags again. My life, years of it, stuffed into plastic like trash. No one had even tried to fold anything. A photo frame peeked out of one, the glass cracked. "Mom, you couldn't have waited? Or asked?" My dad walked past me, brushing my shoulder with his. "Don't start, Ruth. Your brother's got responsibilities now. You're only here temporarily anyway." For a moment, everything went quiet in my mind. No thoughts, just the ringing rush of blood in my ears. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Something in me just switched off. "Okay," I said. That was it. One small word, clipped and flat. The last surrender. I limped over to the garbage bags and dragged them toward the door, one at a time. Every movement tugged at my stitches, but no one offered to help. I could feel their eyes on me in quick, annoyed glances, like I was blocking the hallway rather than having a minor breakdown. "I think you're being dramatic," Mom muttered as I wrestled the last bag over the threshold. Maybe I was. Maybe it was dramatic to not want to sleep on a couch in the house where your family had thrown your life into trash bags. I loaded everything into the trunk of my car. My hands were shaking by the time I slammed it shut. My dad called out, "Where are you going?" "Home," I said. "You are home." I turned back and looked at the house, the peeling paint, the crooked railing, the people standing inside who genuinely believed that. "No," I said quietly, "I'm not." I got in the car. I shouldn't have been driving. Every bump on the road felt like someone punching my stomach from the inside. But my old apartment was only a few miles away, still empty, still waiting. I had kept the keys, telling myself I'd be back. I was right. By the time I dragged the bags up the stairs and into that echoing space, I was shaking so hard I had to sit on the floor and breathe through the pain. There was no bed, no couch, just bare walls and my heartbeat in my ears. I lay there for a long time, staring at the ceiling, the events of the day replaying in my mind like a bad movie. The hospital, the car, the empty room, the garbage bags, the way my mother hadn't even looked at me when she took my room away. I had come back to them for support. They had taken my bed. The next morning, I woke up stiff and sore on the hardwood floor, with a crumpled hoodie for a pillow. Light was leaking through the blinds. My phone buzzed with a notification from the bank, reminding me of a balance I didn't want to think about. I stared at the screen for a long time. There was a joint account, the one my parents had begged me to open years ago, just in case of emergencies, the one they'd been dipping into, one little transaction at a time, insurance, groceries, that mysterious emergency. My surgery had been the real emergency, and they'd met it with garbage bags. I got dressed slowly, every motion deliberate, and drove to the bank. "Hi," I told the woman at the desk, my voice steady in a way that surprised me. "I'd like to close a joint account." She asked for ID, signatures, the usual. It felt strangely surgical, like another kind of procedure. Cut here, tie off there, remove what's infected. "Are you sure?" she asked at the end. "Once it's closed, it can't be reactivated without opening a new one." "I'm sure," I said. When I walked out of the bank, the air felt different on my skin, lighter, sharper. By the time evening rolled around, my phone was lit up with notifications. Missed call, Mom. Missed call, Dad. Missed call, Mom. Again. Missed call, my brother. Then Jasmine. By 9 p.m., I had over 100 missed calls and a handful of texts. "What did you do? Call me now." "Ruth, this isn't funny." I stared at the screen as it kept vibrating on the floor beside my makeshift bed. For the first time in my life, I didn't pick up. I just lay there, hand over my healing stomach, listening to the phone buzz and buzz and buzz, and realized something. They had finally noticed I existed. Not as a daughter, as a closed account. And this was only the beginning. The silence didn't last. The next morning, my phone started screaming before I even opened my eyes. It vibrated across the floor toward me like it was trying to escape. Mom, Ruth, what did you do? Dad, call me back now. My brother, seriously, what is wrong with you? At first, the text came wrapped in fake concern. Are you okay? We're worried. You're overreacting. Just talk to us. Then the mask slipped. You've lost your mind. Dad, unbelievable. After everything we've done for you. Mom. I lay there on my blanket, the stitches tugging with every breath, and watched the messages pile up. Each buzz was a little electric shock. Not one of them said, "How are you feeling after surgery?" Not one of them asked if I was in pain. They didn't care that I had nearly passed out on my floor the night before trying to drag my things inside. They cared that the money was gone. By noon, my brother's wife, Jasmine, finally decided to make her entrance. We were counting on that money, Ruth. You blindsided us. I stared at the words for a long moment. It was the first time she'd messaged me directly in months. Not a, "How did the surgery go?" Not a, "Do you want us to come visit?" Just, "We were counting on that money." My thumb hovered over the keyboard. A dozen responses flickered through my mind. Sarcasm, rage, nasty truths, but they all melted into something cleaner. I opened her contact. Blocked. I didn't send a single word, and somehow the quiet of that decision felt louder than any fight I could have started. The buzzing slowed after that, like they were regrouping. When the phone finally stopped vibrating, the silence in my little apartment felt strange, not peaceful. Not yet. Just empty. I dragged myself into the kitchen area, which was really just a strip of counter attached to the wall. No table yet, no chairs. I opened a can of soup, heated it on the stove, and leaned against the counter while it warmed, one arm wrapped protectively around my abdomen. Steam blurred my vision as I stared at nothing. I had come back home thinking I'd be surrounded by people who loved me. Instead, I'd been evicted from my own room and treated like a defective ATM. The soup tasted metallic. I ate it anyway. Later that day, Leah came by, knocking her signature shave and a haircut rhythm on my door. I shuffled over and opened it. She took one look at me and swore under her breath. "You look like Death Collins," she said, using the teasing nickname she'd invented in high school. "Let me in before I call the ER myself." She moved through my apartment like a quiet storm, dropping bags onto the counter. Tupperware containers, a small blender, a heating pad, a bag of groceries. She didn't ask why my bed wasn't there yet. She didn't ask why my phone screen lit up with my mother's name every few minutes. She just put on water for tea and said, "Sit. You're making me nervous standing like that." I sat on my makeshift nest on the floor and watched her move, feeling the knot in my chest loosen by degrees. "You don't have to do this," I murmured. Leah glanced over her shoulder. "I know. That's the difference between me and them." The words hit harder than I expected. I swallowed, my throat burning. When she finally left that evening, the apartment smelled faintly of garlic and chamomile. There were containers stacked in the fridge, a heating pad plugged in and ready, and a soft throw blanket she insisted I keep for hospital flashbacks. After the door closed behind her, the silence felt different, less empty, less scary. For the first time since I'd left my parents' house, I let myself breathe all the way in without bracing. That night, I opened my laptop. It started as a distraction. I told myself I was just going to check my email, maybe delete a few notifications, but as I clicked and scrolled, my eyes kept snagging on numbers. Phone bill, electric bill, streaming services, a random grocery delivery service I'd forgotten existed. All in my name, some still auto-paying from my old account. My parents had always treated my credit score like a family resource, something we all shared as long as no one talked about it. I'd been the one to sign up for the family phone plan because you're good with paperwork. I'd been the one to start the utility account when I moved back home after college because you're already in the system. Somehow those things never migrated back out of my name. While I lay in a hospital bed without a single visitor, my parents and brother had been happily using services that depended on me existing on paper. My chest tightened. I began shutting it all down. One by one, I logged in and changed passwords. Phone plan, removed every number but mine. Streaming services, canceled. Grocery delivery, canceled. Utilities, removed my payment information, updated the address back to my apartment. I didn't send a warning. I didn't write a long message explaining why. I gave them the same courtesy they had given me when they bagged up my life and dragged it into the hallway. None at all. 3 days later, a message popped up on Facebook from someone I barely knew, one of my dad's coworkers. We were only connected because he'd once asked me how to reset his email. Hey, just a heads up. Your mom showed up at your dad's job today yelling about a phone bill. Everything okay with you? I stared at the message, feeling something cold and sharp settle in my chest. I typed back, I'm fine, just setting boundaries. My hands shook as I hit send. Not from fear this time, from adrenaline. The following Saturday, they came to my apartment. I saw them through the peephole first. My mother in a hastily thrown-on cardigan, clutching a plastic container of something that might have been food. My brother standing beside her with his arms crossed like a bouncer. Jasmine hovering behind him with her phone already in her hand like she expected fireworks. They knocked. They rang the bell. My mom called my name through the door, voice twisting between pleading and sharp annoyance. Ruth, open up. We just want to talk. Ruth, this is childish. Are you really going to ignore your family after everything we've done for you? I pressed my back against the wall beside the door, heart pounding, every nerve screaming at me to do what I'd always done. Open, smile, apologize, smooth it over. I didn't move. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Eventually, their voices faded down the hallway. I waited 5 more minutes before I dared to breathe like a normal person. When I finally looked through the peephole again, the hallway was empty. My phone buzzed with the final text from my brother. After everything we did for you, this is how you treat us. Unreal. I stared at the words until the screen dimmed and went dark. Something inside me clicked into place, like a lock turning. The only reason I had gone back was because I believed family was supposed to catch you when you fall. Instead, they pulled the ground out from under me and complained about the dust. The next few days blurred into a strange rhythm. Painkillers, reheated food from Leah, short walks across the apartment so my muscles didn't seize, small administrative battles waged from my laptop. I changed passwords. I updated mailing addresses. I double-checked that every account with my name on it went to my life, not theirs. Then the emails started. At first, they were the usual noise. Promotions, updates, spam. But buried among them were little red flags. Overdue notice, final reminder, account past due. I clicked one, frowning. It was from the electric company. The account number looked familiar, but the address listed wasn't my apartment, it was my parents' house. Someone had tried to transfer the account into a new name. The transfer had been denied because of the balance. The amount due, $1,728. My stomach turned. Over the last year, I had been paying my share of the utilities, assuming we were all splitting the cost. It turned out I'd been covering almost everything while they let the balance quietly snowball. I turned off autopay with a single click. A few hours later, another email rolled in. This one made my breath hitch. Debt collection agency. I read the subject line 3 times before opening it. It wasn't about a credit card I recognized or my student loans. It was about a personal loan I had co-signed for my dad 2 years ago. Just a rough patch, he'd said. Only a few thousand. I'll handle all the payments. You won't even notice. He was right about one thing. I hadn't noticed. I'd trusted him. Now the original amount had nearly doubled with interest and fees. Over $14,000. And because my name was on it, it was my problem too. I sat there, feeling the world narrow down to the laptop screen and the sound of my own heartbeat. I called the number in the email. The woman on the phone was polite, almost cheerful, as she explained there was no way to remove my name unless the loan was paid in full. No loopholes. No, but my dad said. Just a cold series of numbers and consequences. After I hung up, I slid to the floor with my back against the wall, laptop balanced on my knees. The heating pad hummed quietly at my side. For a long moment, I just stared at the blank spreadsheet I'd opened without thinking. Then I started typing. Every payment I had ever made for them, every little help that had been withdrawn from my account. The times I'd covered the phone bill, the times I'd paid for groceries just this once, the insurance top-ups, the random cash transfers with cryptic messages like "just until Friday" that never came back, the down payment on my brother's car, the co-signed loan. I combed through bank history, Venmo transactions, old texts, emails, even notes scribbled in my phone with dates and amounts so I wouldn't forget what Mom owes me. It took hours. The light outside shifted from afternoon to evening, casting long shadows across the floor. My stomach growled, but I ignored it. I needed to see it, all of it, in one place. Finally, I clicked the last cell and dragged my cursor down to the bottom of the column. The spreadsheet added everything up with a soft little ping, as if it were doing something ordinary. The number appeared, 37,812. I stared at it. That was the price of being their daughter. Not birthdays, not holidays, not hugs after bad days, not a single hospital visit. Just a running tab. My chest ached, but not from the stitches this time. I pressed my palm lightly against the bandage and let the realization sink in. They didn't see me as a person to love. They saw me as a resource to use. Somewhere beneath the hurt, something else flickered to life, small, sharp, and steady. It wasn't revenge. Not yet. It was clarity. The envelope appeared beneath my door on a Wednesday afternoon. I didn't hear my mother's footsteps in the hallway, but I heard her voice, sharp, frantic, too loud for a residential building. She paced back and forth, arguing with someone on the phone, her tone swinging wildly between self-pity and rage. I don't know what she thinks she's doing. Your father is stressed. His blood pressure. She needs to stop acting like a spoiled child. The shadow under the door shifted. A soft scrape, then silence. I didn't open the door until I heard the elevator ding at the end of the hallway. Only then did I pick up the envelope. My name was written in slanted handwriting, shaky, like she'd been crying or rushing. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Ruth, you're tearing this family apart. Your father's health is declining because of your behavior. We might lose the house. Why are you doing this to us? That was it. Not a word about the surgery. Not a word about throwing my life into garbage bags. Not a word about the debt in my name or the unpaid utilities or the lies they'd spread. Just blame, guilt, manipulation dressed as concern. I folded the note once, then again, then slid it onto the counter beside the kettle. My hands were trembling, not from sadness, but from clarity, so sharp it felt like glass. This wasn't an apology. This wasn't accountability. This was fear. Fear of losing access to me. I made tea with slow, deliberate movements. Chamomile, because it felt like a soft rebellion against the chaos outside my door. While the kettle hissed, I stared at the spreadsheet open on my laptop. 37,812. A number that represented years of family loyalty, twisted into obligation. A number that tasted like metallic exhaustion. They wanted me back because their lives were unraveling. Not because they loved me, because they needed me to patch their ship while mine sank. I took a sip of tea. My hands stopped shaking. For the first time, I realized I wasn't the one falling apart. They were, and I wasn't going back. A few days passed in a strange quiet. My phone stayed mostly silent. Too silent. My parents had never given up this quickly before. They moved in cycles. Anger, panic, guilt trips, silence, repeat. But this silence was different. It felt strategic, like someone holding their breath before a storm. I spent the days healing, managing pain, trying to reclaim my routine. I forced myself to walk slowly around the apartment every hour, wincing with each step, but refusing to let my muscles atrophy. I cooked simple meals with Leah's groceries. I answered a few school emails with vague promises to catch up. And every night, I double-checked the accounts linked to my name, every forgotten subscription, every dormant login, every loose thread they could tug on. I cut them all. Little by little, I erased their access to my life. It wasn't vindictive. It was necessary. The storm arrived in the form of a text from an unknown number. Hi, this is Jasmine's sister. I'm staying out of all this, but I thought you should know. Your parents are telling people you emptied their bank account and ran off. They're saying you used them and left them with nothing. For a long moment, I didn't breathe. Not because I was shocked, but because something inside me just cracked. After everything, after the money, the surgery, the abandoned hospital bed, the debt they had hidden in my name, they were painting me as the villain. I sat down slowly, the pain in my abdomen blooming with the movement. My fingers hovered over the screen. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Instead, I walked to my laptop. I opened my folder of saved proof. Screenshots, emails, banking statements, text messages, receipts. Every little lie, every financial exploitation, every manipulation carefully cataloged. I organized it into a clean timeline. Not because I planned to send it. Not because I wanted revenge. But because I needed the truth set in front of me, unfiltered. Somewhere along the line, my parents had convinced me that their version of events was reality. This timeline was my anchor, my reminder that I wasn't crazy, my reminder that I had been used. Halfway through organizing a batch of old messages, I felt a chill crawl up my spine. My insurance billing portal had a new notification. Claim denied. Supplemental health policy terminated. Confused, I clicked the details. Termination date, 3 days after I left their house. My mother had canceled my supplemental insurance in the middle of my recovery. No reason listed. No warning. Just erased. My hands froze on the keyboard. They hadn't just abandoned me. They had actively removed something I needed to stay alive after surgery. I sat there, staring at the notification, the weight of it pressing against my ribcage like a hand trying to crush me from the inside. This was beyond manipulation, beyond guilt, beyond money. This was cruelty. And it broke something cleanly inside me. When I finally told Leah, she didn't say anything at first. She just looked at me, eyes full of a quiet rage I'd never seen on her face before. "Ruth," she said softly, "you can't go back there. Not ever." "I know." "Good." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Then we rebuild." "Not you. We." That word made my throat burn. Over the next week, I cut every legal and financial tie connecting me to my family. I removed them from my emergency contacts. I updated my mailing address on every account. I closed shared services. I froze my credit. I opened new bank accounts. I changed every password. I replaced every document with updated information. I even switched pharmacies. Every time I clicked submit, I felt something loosen inside me. Rope slipping, chains falling away. I was untangling myself from years of quiet enslavement. Then came the wedding. A distant cousin's. I wasn't invited, of course, not after the lies they'd been telling people. But Leah insisted I go with her. "Just show up," she said, "not for them, for yourself." So I did. I wore a navy dress that fit me perfectly, simple, elegant, a small rebellion, just existing without apology. When I walked into that reception hall, the room shifted. People whispered, eyes widened. My parents were there, of course, standing stiffly near the bar. My mother froze mid-sentence when she saw me. My father went pale. They looked at me like a ghost. I didn't approach them. I didn't even acknowledge them. I just smiled politely at people I barely knew, sipped water, and let them see what they didn't expect. I was alive, I was healing, I was thriving. Their narrative crumbled on its own. You can't lie about someone who refuses to disappear. A few days later, the messages came. My mother, "Ruth, we need to talk, please." My father, "We can fix this, just come home." My brother, "Mom is upset. Dad isn't doing well. Stop being dramatic and pick up your damn phone." I didn't reply. Not out of anger, out of peace. Real peace. The kind that settles into your bones when you stop being afraid. When my father was hospitalized a month later, Leah told me gently, I didn't go. Not because I wanted him to suffer, but because I finally understood. I didn't owe them my body, my money, my presence, or my pain. I didn't owe them anything. I changed my last name quietly. Collins stayed. It belonged to me, not them, but I removed my middle name and replaced it with something simple and strong. When the confirmation arrived in the mail, I sat alone in my apartment, holding the document with trembling hands. I cried, not from grief, but from the overwhelming relief of freedom. My life was mine again. My choices, my boundaries, my peace. Leah and I took a weekend trip a few weeks later. Nothing fancy. Just a small coastal town, good food, long walks, and laughter that didn't hurt. I realized somewhere between the waves and her teasing commentary on seagulls that family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by who shows up when no one is watching. My parents haven't apologized. They might never, and I don't need them to. Closure is something you give yourself. I'm finally home.